Okay, so good afternoon. My name is Melissa Hanna Brown. I'm here to talk to you about the Community for Analytical Measurement Science initiative. I work for Pfizer in Sandwich in Kent, and Pfizer are one of the partners in CAMS, and I'm going to tell you more about that and what that all means. So CAMS is all about analytical measurement science, and analytical measurement science as a business contributes an estimated 7 billion turnover in the UK, with over 200,000 scientists employed across multiple sectors. And analytical measurement science in some way, shape or form touches the life of every UK citizen. So, from the food that you're eating in terms of the packaging and the testing that's been done on that, to the sports that people participate in, to healthcare, so all sorts of sectors. And the quality laboratories that support all sorts of measurements across sectors are very diverse and broad across the UK. So it plays an important enabling role in many sectors, but also in many current government initiatives, including things like the high-value manufacturing catapult, the cell and gene therapy, medicines discovery, and many others. But what we have seen in recent years are that there are many gaps in terms of the skills offerings coming through for analytical measurement scientists. And we are not in as such a innovative place as we have been in the past in the UK for measurement technology. And if you think about many of the current measurement challenges and impacts that there are across different sectors, a lot of these, just the strategic challenges across sectors need measurement technology to help them solve the challenges that they're facing right now. So we're all familiar with things like the safety and authentic food testing, and also complexity or increasing complexity of biological molecules, all of which need new technology innovation. Bear with us a second.
It's going to live there, I think.
Okay, and as I just mentioned a moment ago, measurement science in terms of innovation has actually had a proud history, especially in the UK and Ireland. And unbeknown to many people, many of the Nobel Science Prizes, across the UK have been won actually by people who've been innovating in measurement science in terms of the novel technology or the application of novel technology for measurement problems. And it's this really that we've started to think about in terms of bringing together this consortia for analytical measurement science. And on here, this is a little bit wordy, but I'll summarise it in a nutshell. In 2015, the Research Councils, through EPSRC, did a review of the analytical measurement science landscape, looked at the innovation that was coming out, looked at the research centres that were focusing on analytical measurement science, and also looked at the skills and training landscape across the UK. And they concluded that there were a number of opportunities, I would call them, rather than challenges across the landscape, including the need to focus on some sort of community initiative to bring the community together, bring some coherence to the measurement community, to raise the profile of analytical measurement science because of the large impact it has in terms of GDP, and also to focus on increasing our future leaders in terms of innovation in analytical science. And as part of the review that was done by the EPSRC, the team doing the review went out to an initiative called COAST in Holland, where they'd had a similar recognition a few years ago that they weren't getting the skills pipeline through that industry needed across all sectors for innovation in measurement science. And so they got all of the universities together across the Netherlands. They focused the government research funding for measurement science through this one initiative called COAST, which was led by industry. So large corporates and small and medium organisations got together in a membership way, paid money to fund the COAST initiative, and then the Research Council's equivalent that we have in the UK essentially got together to fund any initiatives in terms of PhD training. Still peer reviewed, but it was all done under one umbrella called COAST. The UPSRC panel pointed to this and said, we need something like this in the UK. We need the profile of analytical to be raised. We need people to understand the importance of it across all of the sectors. And those of you attending here today will have seen how many stands there are focusing on measurement for all different types of reasons. And this initiative in the Netherlands has been very successful, maybe easier to do than in the UK and Ireland because there are fewer universities to pull together. But they pointed to it, as I say, the panel, and said we need to do something like this in the UK. There were similar reviews in Royal Society of Chemistry. This is what really started us to think, right, we need to try and do something that is similar, that will focus on the community, the identity of the science as not just being enabling and being an add-on to many of the other pure sciences, but having its own strong identity. Also building a strong skills pipeline for the future. So thinking about how can we fund and bring on future leaders in terms of innovation, but have something that is industry focused and industry leading, so that we create the leaders of the future that we need, that industry needs, but we also create the innovation for the future in terms of measurement technology. And so, if I can get the clicker to work, in putting this sort of idea together that had both innovation in terms of research and measurement technology, but also skills and training and growing that future pipeline of innovation leaders, there was somewhat of a conundrum in the UK because of the way the funding structure was has been. Of course, now we have UKRI, so since we started with CAMS, the research councils and Innovate UK have come together. That provides us an opportunity right now, and so we're talking to UKRI again. But at the time, there was a split source, if you like, of possible funders. So it's been an interesting journey. It's also been an interesting journey in terms of starting a community initiative like this because of the timing. So everywhere you go, whatever sector you talk to or go and see, you'll hear them talking about digital transformation. And digital, that's the buzzword, AI, data, is being talked about everywhere, and lots of people talking about the needs, how it's enabling for all sorts of sciences and all sorts of sectors. And actually what I would argue is that a lot of the data that is used actually comes from measurement in most of these sectors. And so the underpinning importance of quality data coming from quality measurements and scientists who understand about measurement science is really, really important. And this is just one example that I quite like. It's come from NASA and their vision for 2040, their roadmap for multi-scale and integrated simulation of modelling and materials and systems. And number 2 on their list of these different threads that need to be combined to enable digital transformation is characterisation, so all about measurement. So they've recognised it, other sectors are starting to too, and this was a key, I guess, important point for us in our communications about the importance of measurement, and it kind of has aligned nicely. So in starting up this initiative, as I've just spoken to, we looked at the research that had been done by the research councils and the mapping, if you like, the landscaping that had been done, and brought together an initiative that we thought was going to be similar to the one that we'd seen elsewhere, and we called it CAMS, so Community for Analytical Measurement Science. And in some of our very first meetings, we got together different research councils, professional bodies, educational institutions, and spoke to them about the need for this. There was a broad agreement about, yes, there's definitely a need, but do industry want anything like this? Will they pay for it? Are they going to get behind it? And so we went out to go and try and answer that question. We had the strong backing at the time of the Medicines, and currently still, Medicines Manufacturing Industry Partnership, which is this logo here. And while this initiative is not solely focused on medicines, this was quite an important initiative because of their alignment with government. And so we went out, we got their help through KTN to contact lots and lots of companies. I think in the end we talked to maybe over 175 different companies. We had surveys, we had workshops, we learnt about where they're using measurement science, what the impact is for their industry, what their challenges are. And really then we're able to go back with a strong message about the backing and the support that industry would give. And the structure of CAMS that we have been putting together throughout all of that work, and very much shaped by industry, is shown at a high level on this picture here. So essentially the focus is about strategically connecting and growing the analytical measurement science community in the UK and Ireland. And we have a focus with the UK and Ireland because we've also had funding from the Analytical Chemistry Trust Fund. There we go, it's back. Which funds all of those areas. And then we have the Measurement Science Research Institute. So that's focusing on delivering the research innovation aspect of CAMS. I'll tell you more about how that works in a moment. And then the other side is BEAM, which is actually the network, if you like, for the community, and it has a training and skills focus. Okay, so that's at a high level the structure of CAMS. CAMS actually operates with an executive board and a secretariat, and the secretariat service is provided by Lab of the Government Chemist, and they've been hugely supportive, including the Government Chemist throughout the journey. It then has an industry advisory board, which are all the industry members. We have 16 members, including large corporates and small or medium businesses at the moment, looking for more, so if you're interested, please talk to me. But this is where the challenges are set. So this is where the themes for the research that industry wants to see are set in the industry advisory board. And then those challenges are fed out, whether it's a research challenge into the Measurement Science Research Institute, or whether it's a training and skills need and challenge into the BEAM. And also, as I mentioned, this is also the sort of the network, the hub, where the community pieces, if you like, to gel together. So in the MSI, we have the academic members. So I've mentioned so far about industry, I haven't said anything about academia. As I said at the beginning, when we were given the mandate to go ahead by all of these different bodies to go and see if industry would buy into this, industry was our first priority because we needed to get them to commit and to say, yes, we'll pay for something like this, we'll sponsor you, and we'll pay a certain amount for membership every year. So we have a tiered membership structure for industry. Tier 1, you get the most influence, if you like, over the research projects that you're able to access. Tier 2, less projects and I guess a slightly less influence, and then Tier 3 is a community sort of way into the network. What I should also say about membership for industry is that you get PhD and postdoc access as part of that membership, which is on a 3-yearly basis. For academia, once we got industry on board, that then was the pull for academia to come in. Now, there's also a very high commitment that we've asked from academia. So at the Tier 1 level, remember at the beginning that one of our visions was to grow the future leaders in terms of analytical measurement science in UK universities. And so at Tier 1 level, we have been asking universities to commit a new chair that is called a CAMS chair in analytical measurement science. And you might think that's a steep ask, but we already have 2. And in fact, the 2 that have come in at Tier 1 have already not only appointed chairs, but also CAMS lecturers and postdocs, so we've been very lucky with that. We have some others waiting to come in at the moment. And then we've also appointed Tier 2s who then are expected to either appoint a lecturer or equivalent of lecturers, and these are new lecturers, that's not just swapping somebody who's already in post and calling them a CAMS lecturer, but new lecturers in analytical measurement science with associated packages of PhDs and postdocs. And then through those, all of the appointments, they work with the industry partners in the board, so industry partners feed in their challenges, the projects they want to work on, and the MSI find the best match for that to happen with the academic partners that are in there. The themes that came out of the multiple industry workshops that we held for CAMS with lots of industrial companies, so this wasn't done with academia, this was purely done with the companies. They're very broad, they cover most things, but they include data analytics, and I mentioned right at the start about the whole digital data piece and where measurement is really, really important. And with the advent of higher and higher throughput in terms of screening and analytics in our labs, we need people who really understand how to handle data. So we talk about, the training for our measurement scientists, for really good measurement scientists to understand not only about the sample and how to sample, what technique is the best technique to apply to that sample for the question that's being asked, but then also how to interpret the data in the context of that question. And data analytics is increasingly important in our field. So that was a really strong theme that came through from lots and lots of companies about not only having the skills, the practical skills to be able to be a good measurement science, but also the data skills. The other areas of research are point of view sensors and photonics, probably unsurprisingly again, and especially in areas like continuous manufacturing, for example, in the pharma industry where I am. Another area is novel instrumentation, which incorporates miniaturization. And then finally, I guess a more traditional area that you would expect, but still a challenging area for lots of sectors, complex mixtures, and the advanced technology requirements there for separations and detection, and especially in complex biological products. The activities in terms of the beam side of CAMS are multiple. This has been the later piece that has been kicked off in CAMS. So what we've been looking at are not only providing a portal, if you like, for everything analytical for the measurement community, so links for conferences and events, but also helping the community to understand where there are advanced technologies or facilities that they can get hold of, and that's especially important for SMEs. But also having instrument demo workshops for the instrument companies that are involved in CAMS so that they can come and do workshops, or they can do webinars in terms of instrument demos. There are expert science webinars available for members. We have funding from BAYS to develop some new back to basics e-learning programs for analytical, and they will be open for the community, not just members. There's no restrictions at all on those programs, and those are being developed right now. And we're also working on some emerging technology showcases and some measurement challenge hackathons, so something a little bit different for the younger community especially, and for SMEs, I should also add. You can find out more about lots of the things that are going on with CAMS through the portal, as we call it, the CAMS portal. And as I said at the beginning, again, another part of the vision about CAMS is about connecting the community. So we are envisaging this is the place where everything analytical you can find out about. So meetings, events, new technologies, and it's growing on a weekly basis. And if you just look down the left-hand side, you'll see of the page, not updated on that picture, but every day you'll see different things happening and different meetings and so forth going on. There's also a Twitter handle, lots of discussion going on there. And you'll hear announcements through either the Twitter or the portal about new appointments in CAMS. One thing that I didn't mention so far about the funding, I mentioned that we have some Analytical Chemistry Trust Fund funding for CAMS. We had nearly 5 million, some of that being direct cash support and some of it being repurposed support from the Analytical Chemistry Trust Fund. What we have done with that money is put calls out so far to universities to join CAMS and to offer them co-funding if they appoint new lecturers or postdocs. And that's part of how we've been using the funding to bring in more universities. And our current stage is that we are getting ready to do another call. And you can find out about who's been appointed and what they're doing on the site. It tells you about all of that news on there. What we're doing right now is, of course, now getting together again, because there are many universities wanting to join and we need to increase our funding, going back to UKRI and seeing if we can find a way of helping those universities come on board. All in all, we've had over 13 million support when you look at all of the co-funding packages that we've had from the different institutions. So that's our next steps, really, thinking about the next part of funding. We launched in June at the Royal Society of Chemistry. We had Stephen Metcalfe opened the whole event. He was the ex-chair of the Science and Technology Select Committee. We had David Griffiths-Johnson from the Office of Life Sciences and somebody come and speak on behalf of the Medicines Manufacturing Industry Partnership, along with companies like Syngenta who are involved in the partnership as well. So that's really about CAMS. If you want to find out more, I'd be very happy to talk to you, and we'd like to welcome anybody who would like to join into CAMS. You can come in just as a network member, or if you're an SME, want to showcase new technology, all of that is open. Or if you want to work more strategically and work on some new technology and get involved as a tier member in the structure, we'd be very happy to welcome you. Thanks for your attention.